Online Voices and the 616 Company presents The Book of the Unguided, Canto II by Darren William Pearce, based on an original story by Richard Sjunnesson, narrated by Behr. Act 2. In the Recipe of Life boils death. I have always admired this about humans. You have so many wonderful qualities amongst your people. Your dedication and thirst for knowledge, viewed by some as detrimental or dangerous, is one of those many things I like. Your propensity to learn about history and where you came from is just another facet that sets you apart. I know that the most historic documentation was lost in the war, sadly. But thanks to the efforts of Mercy, who has spent a great deal of time keeping track of the ages, those records and histories have been restored. You seem to focus upon the 61st century. You were most interested in how the old king's advisors, later my own, had been given an unnaturally long lifespan. I admit, this was a trick of my own. It comes really naturally too. I simply channeled my immortality through the fabric of their bodies, and thus they gained immortality of sorts. It is a pity that their lives were cut so short, beheaded before my very eyes, and in such a cruel fashion. I really liked them. They served me equally and loyally as they did their old master and king. As an immortal, though, you learn a great lesson. The longer you live, the easier it is to let go of people, places, and even feelings. This is why I sometimes envy you mortals. Your brief candle flame lives lived shortly, yet twice as brightly as our own. What came next was equally amusing, frustrating, and astounding. The academics of Zion came together as a think tank and began to break down this ability of mine. Through chemistry, tinkering, and outright genius, they created a mathematical formulae. They concocted potions that were the distilled essence of my power, made into something as crude but still impressive as an elixir of life. What did you do that for? Here am I, immortal, everlasting, and hoping one day to be united with the void somehow. And you, tiny flickers of life, find a way to extend your already elongated lifespan, now 150 years or more, unless sickness or disease took you early. But this drink, this potion, would stop aging completely, and with it, bring a raft of problems. When you add immortality to humanity, and you create it by chemical means, a means that can be manufactured, you allow profit, money, corporate greed, and control to overtake the essence of what you originally tried to create. Industry embraced this new wonder potion. The price was phenomenal, and only the truly rich could afford to live forever. Where have I heard that before, eh? The creators, those who came after, all of them would never have to fear age again, nor lift a finger. Thanks would go to those who crafted my gift into mere chemical qualities. I really should have demanded royalties for it, but I find money tiresome and monotonous. I am immortal after all. Now remember, I have spoken before of the balance. All things happen for a reason, and there is a point to my tale in this act. It is coming pretty soon as well. As time lingered on, I really could not shake the feeling that in all of this, us greater beings had somehow upset the proverbial apple cart, as well as upsetting the heavens by acting as gods yet again, repeating the same mistakes of the past. Redirecting humanity and its development just seemed like another mistake, and I knew that our personal vendettas had brought you suffering once. Perhaps I unwisely kept my advice to myself and held my own counsel. I knew what would come, what would happen when Adam and the High Guard found out what you had achieved. I knew he would be furious, and the High Guard would take steps. It was only a matter of time. For me, that time came sooner than I really expected it would. Why? To know this, you must first understand the cycle of souls that bind heaven and the mortal worlds together. Imagine heaven and the mortal world as 2 points of an eternal conduit, a figure 8. You have heard the term Möbius loop or strip, right? I can break this down to a simple concept for you. Earthly souls that return to heaven are reborn to fill the roles that heaven has slated for them: warrior, messenger, servant, and the like. Angels who die, or eventually diminish, it can happen, have their energy reborn in humans, you, the other end of the strip. This was an immutable and unbreakable law. Even Adam had to abide by it. As you were born, heaven needed to supply that fresh body with a soul to join with the mind and heart, with the earthly function of procreation, supplying the physical matter for the mind and heart. Thus the loop was maintained, the flow of souls managed to be perfected, and the all-important cycle of death, birth, and rebirth continued. People wrote books on it for you to read. Some of you understood the importance of all this, but those who wanted money only cared about their decimal points and market values. Your immortality was a dangerous imbalance, and Adam saw it. If unchecked, it would serve to annihilate the angelic race, wipe them out. Adam could not stand the idea that humans would eventually require the souls of his beloved champions, and that humans would never learn the lessons they had still left to learn. So he broke the truce, which perhaps broke my heart as well. Adam unleashed wave upon wave of death upon Zion. The harvest of souls had begun in earnest. It was a late hour when we realized what was happening, when we were alerted that the heavens had gone to war with Zion. In desperation, we tried to reactivate the army, but it was in vain. They did not hear our rallying cry and kept on wandering the streets like broken dolls. They watched with gaze unblinking as countless people were slaughtered like cattle in an abattoir. They walked through the blood and kept on walking. It was our fault, we felt. We had instilled in the citizens of Zion hope, a false hope. My hubris was perhaps almost equal to that of Apophis in many ways. Yet I was not about to give up. Even as I saw the Holocaust rage like a pyre through our grand city and claim numerous souls from our own people's discarded, lifeless corpses. I mourned you as I saw your lives taken. Anger filled my heart, and I steeled my resolve. Swiftly, I called for my brother, for I may have been the warden of the city, but I was not its protector. My brother was the rightful leader. He would be able to save us. Until then, the captain, Mercy, Judgment, and myself prepared to face Adam's armies, as we dug in our heels to defend our position as best we could. We were too few in number. I knew this, and I knew what would come. As I painfully waited for the king and queen to return, I watched the numbers of people dwindle as Adam was relentless in his campaign. He won, of course. How could we stop him? So he enslaved Zion's people and created systems which his angels enforced to regulate the flow of souls in favor of himself and his angelic hosts. How I hated him at that moment. Our small group of resistance fighters did what we could to ruin his plans, but we were overwhelmed eventually and in dire need of aid. Adam's army kept growing with each of your lives they ended. All seemed lost.